Hello, and welcome to the tutorial video for the Denver Regional Council of Governments Crash Data Dashboard. Throughout this presentation, I will be referring to the Denver Regional Council of Governments organization as DRCOG, the acronym. This dashboard adheres to all recent Colorado accessibility guidelines where possible. If you need digital accessibility assistance, submit a request at drcog.org/access or call 303-455-1000. Please expect a response within 72 hours or 3 business days. The email address and phone number can be found within the dashboard on the splash screen or on the About tab. We worked hard to make this product as useful to as many users as possible. We released the dashboard to the public in August of 2024 and are planning annual updates as we process and incorporate new crash data. I need to cover some background information and some caveats about the data and the dashboard before we jump in. We at DRCOG have done a huge amount of work processing and cleaning the data just to get it to the clean form you see on the dashboard. However, we need to point out that there are still some inconsistencies and errors inherent in the data. That being said, we still firmly believe that this dashboard is a robust product that displays meaningful insights into the crash data. Additionally, the dashboard currently contains data from 2018 to 2022, meaning the data is not in real time or current to the year. We will update the dashboard annually, most likely in the late summer to early fall, as new data is made available and processed in-house. Now let's get into the dashboard, first with a quick tour of the dashboard structure, and afterward a specific look at some of the features and tools within. Let's start with the tour. When you first load the dashboard, you'll be met with the splash screen. To continue, click the Enter the Dashboard button, where you'll see the main landing page. This dashboard is divided into 3 main components: the header bar up at the top, the attribute selectors on the left side, and themed tabs down at the bottom. The header bar at the top is fairly simple. On the left side, you have the title and current data years, as well as an exact data vintage date. And over on the right side, there is a drop-down menu with several links and resources. These will open in a new tab in your browser. Moving on to the selector bar on the left side of the dashboard. Here we have a variety of attribute selectors that will filter the crash data and all dashboard elements, such as charts. Each of these can be used independently or in conjunction with each other. Due to the number of dashboard elements, in conjunction with the number of raw crash data points that are actively filtered by the selectors, and depending on your personal network speed, there will be a lag time between setting a selector and having the changes propagate through the dashboard. So remember to give the selector a few moments to apply the changes after setting it. Say I'm interested in crashes involving a motorcycle in 2019. I can yet set the year selector to 2019 and the mode of travel selector to motorcycle. Notice that the map, as well as the bar chart and the 3 indicators on the right-hand side, have updated. We now know from the indicator in the upper right corner that there were 1,074 crashes involving a motorcycle in 2019. Also notice that each selector displays how it is currently set, either displaying all data or the value you set it to filter for. I need to reset my selectors before we move on. Let's cover the themed tabs and elements within each now. These tabs are located at the bottom of the dashboard, and each tab displays a different set of charts or metrics related to that theme. The dashboard will always open on the Where tab to start. This is where you'll find the crash data displayed geographically in a map. There is also a list of intersections in the region with the most crashes, and if you click an intersection, the map will zoom to that spot and filter to just those points. On the far right of the screen are 3 indicators showing total crashes, total fatalities, and total serious injuries. These indicators will be in the same location on the right-hand side throughout most of the dashboard. Let's take a quick look at the map and the crash symbology now. When viewing the map at a regional scale, the crash data is displayed as aggregated bins or rectangles. We needed a good way to generalize the data when viewing it at this scale, since there were so many individual points. Once you have zoomed in further, the individual crash points will appear. It's still a bit of a jumble, however it should be easy to pick out certain important crash points based solely on their symbology. The crash points are symbolized differently depending on the mode of travel involved, such as pedestrian or bicyclist, and the severity of the crash. As demonstrated in the map legend, the large red icons indicate fatal crashes, the medium-sized orange icons indicate serious injury crashes, and the smaller gray icons indicate crashes where there were no fatalities or serious injuries. At this scale, we're still seeing both the individual crash points and the underlying aggregated bins. However, if we zoom in a little further, we can view just the crash points without the bins underneath. Moving to the When tab, there are 4 line charts in addition to the same 3 indicators on the right-hand side that we saw in the last tab. Each of the 4 line charts is displaying crash data across different temporal scales: years, months, days, and hours. Maybe we are interested in what month the most crashes occurred for the year 2022. What about day of the week? Let's set our year selector to 2022, give the charts a moment to update, and we can now see that the most crashes occurred on Fridays and in December for the year 2022. Hovering over a chart data point will reveal the exact value. The Why tab displays metrics related to environmental conditions at the time of a crash. And the How tab displays metrics about behavior or actions related to a crash. Moving on to the Who tab, we find indicators and charts measuring people or groups of people involved in crashes. I want to note that the crash age range bar chart in the lower left corner displays ages of any participant in a crash, no matter whether they were the driver or not. And the bar chart in the lower right corner, the crash location equity quartiles chart, displays the equity quartiles for the area in which a crash occurred. An equity quartile is a measure of marginalized communities in the area. A more in-depth definition can be found in the documentation on the About tab. The next tab, the Vulnerable Road User tab, breaks a little from the style of the previous tabs, signified by the purple color theming as opposed to the orange of the other tabs. This tab reuses several of the charts that we have already covered on other tabs. However, all the elements on this tab, including the 3 indicators on the right, have been pre-filtered to display data for vulnerable road users. These are defined as pedestrians and cyclists, or equivalent, such as scooter riders. Again, the exact data definition can be found in the documentation on the About tab. And last, but certainly not least, we have the aforementioned About tab. This tab is full of various background and supplemental information about the dashboard or the crash data itself, and you should read through it if you are going to be regularly using this dashboard. There are many useful bits of information here, including descriptions and examples of the selector categories, and supplemental map layer descriptions. The left pane, called About this dashboard, contains things like data and selector definitions. The pane on the right, called How to use this dashboard, contains information about specific features and tools within the dashboard. And with that, we have now toured the whole dashboard structure. For the next section of this tutorial, I will cover some of the features and tools within. Users have the ability to resize any chart or dashboard element as they wish. If you are having difficulty reading a chart and want a larger view of it, simply click and drag the border of the element in question. Resizing the elements might leave the dashboard view in a bit of a messy state, however, requiring a dashboard reset. There are 2 main ways to reset the dashboard. First, you can click the blue Reload button hovering in the lower right corner of the dashboard. This button will reset any selectors you may have set, but won't reset your element resizes. For example, if I set a selector, and then I click the blue button in the lower right corner, you'll see that the selector I had just set is back to its default state. However, the chart resizes I had done are still present. So in order to fully reset the dashboard, including any element resizes you may have made, simply refresh your browser window. If I go back to the Who tab, we can see that the charts I had resized are back to their default state. The next feature I want to demonstrate is how to download data out of the dashboard. There are two types of data download. On just about every element in the dashboard, in the lower left corner, you'll see a small down arrow. This is the data download button, and once clicked, you'll see two options. Both options will download data as a comma-separated value file, or CSV file. The source data option will download a complete set of the crash records, all 308,000 of them. Be warned that this download will take a couple of minutes to complete due to the size of the file being downloaded. And since the file downloads as a CSV, it will include columns for geometry so that it can be imported and visualized in a geographic information system. The summarize data option will simply download the data displayed in whichever element you open the download button for. This will be a simpler CSV file with each chart category and value and should download fairly quickly. I also want to cover all of the supplemental data and tools available for use in the map element of the Where tab. You can see these up at the top of the map. Starting with the base map gallery. In this menu, you can switch the underlying base map, and we have included aerial imagery layers as well as both dark and light options. Next, we have the data layers list. We have bucketed the layers into three main groups: the base crash data points layer, the binned symbology layers, and supplemental datasets. Any layer that is currently grayed out, such as the crash data points at the moment, means the layer is not visible for your current zoom level. Usually this means you'll need to zoom in further to see this layer. Once you do, you'll see the layer is no longer grayed out. You can also use the I button to the right of any layer to turn visibility on or off. The crash hotspots layers show the crash data points grouped into bins, with darker blue bins reflecting higher number of crash points within that area. There are 4 of these layers total. 2 of them display the default binning symbology from light blue to dark blue, and the other 2 offer alternative accessible symbology. Also keep in mind that changing the base map to a darker one can make these bins more visible if need be. Next, we have the reference layers group. This is where you can find supplemental information and spatial data such as municipal boundaries or traffic volumes. Our next menu is the legend. This is where you'll find what each map symbol means. The legend pane will update automatically as layers appear or disappear. For example, if I zoom into the crash points, you see them displayed in the legend. And if I zoom back out again, they are automatically removed from the legend. Our next button with the house logo is simply a home button. Clicking this button will return the map to the default zoom level, looking at the whole region. Next, we have the location tool with the magnifying glass icon. This tool allows you to enter a location and zoom there on the map. The location can be anything from a city name to an exact street address. One very important note about this tool: it will not filter any of the dashboard elements. It will only zoom to that location on the map. If you are looking to filter the dashboard charts for a specific town or county, use the selectors on the left. Again, this tool simply finds the location. It does not filter the data. And finally, we have the custom selection tool in the upper left corner. This is a powerful tool that can be used to select certain crash points by drawing around them with your mouse, and will filter the entire dashboard, unlike the locator tool we just covered. By selecting certain points, each dashboard element will display data only related to those specific points. This is a great way to find metrics related to specific road corridors or a neighborhood. Let me demonstrate. There are actually two buttons in the upper left corner. The button on the left simply activates the custom drawing mode. The button on the right allows you to choose which type of draw tool you would like to use to select your points in question. Options include rectangle, lasso, or circle. I'm going to pick lasso since I find that's the easiest to work with. Once we have found some crash data points we're interested in, for example, these crashes outside of Union Station in downtown Denver, we can select them using the custom selection tool. We know the tool is activated since our cursor has changed from the default pointer to a crosshair. Then it's as simple as clicking and dragging your mouse around the points in question. Once we do, notice that the intersections chart, as well as the 3 indicators on the right, have updated to only include the 22 crash points I just selected. All other dashboard elements will also filter to this selection. For example, these are the temporal trends for just those 22 crash points near Union Station in downtown Denver. Once you have made a custom selection, you'll notice that there are 2 new buttons in the upper left corner of the map. Clicking the button with the shaded area symbol will pan the map to your selected points in case you have moved away. And clicking the button with the X will deselect the points and unfilter the dashboard elements. And that's the DRCOG Crash Data Dashboard in a nutshell. We hope users can find new insights into the crash data in the region and already have some ideas for future updates. Don't forget to take a look at the About tab if you have any further questions, or contact us using the geospatial inbox or the accessibility form linked on the splash screen and the About tab. Thank you.